Hello and greetings. On TV Insta and YouTube, we hear the word veto, left and right. Now what is this veto right? Which countries have this right? And when to use it? And are the countries that do not have this right satisfied with this law? Veto is a Latin word that means I forbid. If one or more people can override the collective opinion of the members in a vote. In fact, they use their right to veto. In some countries, the president or the king of that country have the right to veto if the assembly or parliament approves a law, and the president, or if the king does not want that law to be implemented, he can veto it. For example, I remember in the late years when Obama was the president of the United States, his opposition party was more in the Congress. They approved sanctions against Iran, but because Obama did not want these sanctions to be imposed, they vetoed it. This means that those laws are not implemented. Of course, keep in mind that if 2/3 of the representatives vote to implement the law, the president's veto will no longer work and must be implemented. Or for example, sometimes the person who has the right to veto cannot completely cancel that law, but he can make changes or suggest changes. The President of India can use the veto given to him to propose amendments. The right of veto can exist in a state, a province, or a country, and even in international institutions. Sometimes, even if a person or a country opposes, that resolution cannot be implemented. The most famous veto right that we all know is the right of veto in the UN Security Council. The veto right was a very controversial issue at the time of the adoption of the UN Charter. The United States and the Soviet Union probably did not consent to the formation of the United Nations without the right of veto. Even though it has been decades since the establishment of the United Nations, there is a difference of opinion on whether or not this right exists. The duty of the Security Council is to try to establish peace in the world, whatever happens. If the world starts a war, the Security Council comes in and issues a resolution about it. Of course, how much can these resolutions prevent war, conflict, and bloodshed? This council has 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. The permanent members, they can veto the resolutions that are approved, and in other words, do not accept them and prevent them from being implemented. The permanent members of this council are the United States, England, France, China, and Russia. The non-permanent members also change from time to time and are not fixed. From these countries, if they do not agree with the resolution, that resolution cannot be implemented. It is possible that the representative of a country is not present in the meeting that is held, or a country abstains. Then, it can no longer be said that that country has vetoed. A veto can only be used if there is a negative vote. Until May 2022, Russia used veto 121 times, America 82 times, England 29 times, China 17 times, and France 16 times. Some countries have objected to the right of veto since the establishment of the United Nations. Some countries suggested that instead of removing the right of veto, we should limit it in some cases. For example, in issues such as war crimes, mass killings, etc. Maybe you can say why countries don't say that the right of veto should be removed altogether? The reason is that some countries consider the right of veto useful. For example, they say that because America has a lot of influence in the world, the right of veto can prevent the unbridled power of America. Some countries also say that veto members should not have the right to veto in matters related to themselves and their own interests. For example, in the war between Ukraine and Russia, Russia vetoed the resolution against itself. Some other countries also say that the right of veto is not in your hands. It should be one country, but 2 countries, so that the decisions are not completely unilateral. But what makes these cases not approved? Because whatever is going to be approved, the permanent members should not veto it. And because these things make the power of the members less, that's why they don't seem to agree with it. Do you think the right to veto is right? Should there be